Hi, welcome to With Bowl and Spoon. I'm Shelly Danko Day, and I am here today with my friend Ebony. You want to introduce yourself?
Yes. Hi, Shelly. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited. It's always great to see you. My name is Ebony Evans, better known as Farmer Girl Eb in the community.
So the community knows you as Farmer Girl Eb. What does that mean? What do they think of when they think of Farmer Girl Eb?
Okay, so Farmer Girl Eb, to me, and what I hope to present to the community is a number of things. First, it's an urban farmer. I'm also an educator, and I'm also a business owner. And I am, I would say, like a community supporter of fresh food, nutrition, all of that. So to me and to what I want to present to the community, that is Farmer Girl Eb.
And they respond. You have a store, you have a farm, you have an indoor hydroponic greenhouse that's like bionic, making tons of food. So I want to hear all about this, but let's talk about how you got started.
Yes, all of this is certainly amazing to me. You know, I had no idea and still have no idea that things were going to end up where we are today. But I'm just getting started. It just started with me just as a mom, literally at home with my children, not thinking nothing about business, trying to become anything at all. It literally was
you were
just
a teacher.
Yeah. I taught, just as an educator. Yes, I'm transferred skills here. But as a mom, as a teacher in the community that I currently live in, I was just in my backyard with my kids trying to just be normal and probably a little bit hiding from the community because I didn't know any teachers that lived around me growing up. And so I would just try to stay away from the kids that I taught. And I just kind of hung out in my backyard. But I think the bounce of my son's ball just still brought kids around because he had a hoop that hung out in an alley in the back of our house. And so that brought around kids first and foremost. And at first it was just like, okay, let them play on the hoop and everything. But one thing led to another, and they ended up in my yard. And with them being in the yard, it was an experience for me and them because they were just interested in what I was doing at the time with my kids. And I was just growing a little bit of food. We just had some things planted out there, and some herbs and a few just pots of plants. And they were just interested in those pots and wanted to know more and more about them, started wanting to take care of them. And first it started with the girls, and they just constantly was very curious about what exactly was going on with the plants growing. And so I began to give them like little tasks. You water, you research this, you do this. It just kind of started like that. And then the boys, wanted to join because there were boys that would play on my son's hoop as well, girls and boys. And then I just, began to section off the back of my house like a classroom. So it turned into like an outside classroom, and they came back every single day. And I found myself... You had
little stations.
Yes.
For the different
I set up,
tasks.
yeah, exactly. So I found myself every day creating activities for them. I then began to set up a table where they would begin to do art activities surrounded around agriculture. They may paint some rocks or draw an abstract painting of a plant or something there. Then it was another station where I had like 2 laptops at the time, and they would research the some seeds that I had or whatever we were growing to identify any problems and what we would do. And then
that's true commitment to the community, to bring your laptops out for the kids.
Yeah. I mean,
into
it was
the garden.
Yeah. They were super excited, and I was just trying to find other ways to keep them interested. And so, and then one of them got hurt. A little small cut on her knee. A little girl, she was running through the yard, and at that time, that's when I realized that, like, I was working with strangers like little kid strangers. And I was, essentially a stranger to their home lives. And I began to tell them all about me even more, like writing down my information, like give this to your mom and, give this to whoever you live with, tell them, to call me. But also I began to show them how to take care of each other. And it created a sense of calmness for them. And that brought about Doctor Day. So then we started having Doctor Day. And that was where I began to show them how to weigh themselves and keep track of who they are, where they live, and a filing system.
So you had like files on each of these kids?
Yes, we began to keep files on each other. And then I had a stethoscope. I taught them how to do like blood pressure, how to begin to take care of one another. And then once things started growing, we started kind of weighing the food. That kind of came a little later. But it started with them weighing themselves and recording what exactly was going on. And so this was literally every day while we were constantly planting new things and taking care of what we had. Then we started putting greenhouses, protecting the food. And so I was just buying stuff, getting like little pipings and plastic, all types of stuff to just kind of build greenhouses. And it was just one of the most amazing experiences that summer. We grew over 30-something vegetables and herbs, and I would give it to them to take home, and more would come, and we were thinking about like what we could do with it. And I was like, I know what we could do. We would just set up a table in the back of the alley, and we'll like have a farmer's market. And so I'm like, tell your mom. And we told a few people, and people came out and they brought the food off of the kids. The kids sold it to people, each other, and they earned money. And the money that they earned, I was like, oh yeah, so now you have like a bank, because now we have all the things that it needs to create community, which is, education, we're learning, we have food, we're eating, we have a care system, which is something like a hospital, and then we have a bank, and that supports all of a community. And I think I learned that myself, even in those moments of that, and that was that. And probably about a week later, they showed back up like, hey, can we have our program again? I was like, it's not a program. It wasn't a program.
So you were essentially teaching them home ec, like home economics. Did you have home economics in school?
I didn't, not in that sense. I remember having cooking. I guess that was considered home economics. And we did take sewing. And we did. And I guess we made clothes. I forgot about that part of it.
Wait, so your program?
Because so when they became like doctors, I had to create
the idea
things.
that it was a program, right?
I wasn't that. So when we were having like Doctor Day, I would like create little things so that they can like not mess up their clothes, or little jackets. I was at the thrift store.
In surgery or something?
I was at the thrift store buying like little things. Like, they loved it. It was like so fun, so cool. I found myself looking for them every day. And a few more things kind of happened that was kind of connected with that. I was in a mindset of what I was going to do with my life, to be honest. At that point, I think at that point I was going to go and get my PhD, and I couldn't take out another loan at that time, and I was sad. I didn't know what else to do. The job that I had been working at that time, because I had left Pittsburgh Public Schools, I was pretty much over it, and I didn't know what to do. And so I was in a lot of deep mindset, trying to figure things out. And so all of that was going on. And whenever the kids that came back and asked for a program, I didn't know what that meant, but I tried to entertain that thought. And so as I entertained it, it was very much a spiritual journey from there, because everything that happened after that was so much on how the name became, out of the end. I watched a sort of an avocado grow up right in my face that I felt through my body. And I slowed down and paid attention to what that meant. And to me, that meant so much. I eventually turned it into a program. I fell back for about a year at that point, and I taught myself how to grow as much as I could, studied and failed and researched, and started an organization called Out of the End, where all of those skills that creates community is what I desire to do. And growing food is where I'm at with it right now. Farmer Girl Ebb came after that, believe it or not. Maybe during that, but not right during that time. When I thought about program, that turns into nonprofit. That was like, what does that mean? That means nonprofit. And so I did what I needed to do to start a nonprofit. And I didn't know how to, you don't profit, nonprofit. So, what do I do to earn money? And what happened was, so I started that with the youth. But then some parents or adults, they wouldn't stop knocking on my door. They wanted my food in the back. They wanted the education. They wanted a course on anything. And so that's what I began to do just in my house. I started having courses on how to start seeds, how to make something out of these herbs, just giving away information. And believe it or not, people would pay for it. And so that's how Farmer Girl Ebb started coming into play, parallel to the organization. Once COVID hit, that kind of took off. It slowed down the organizational side of it because it closed things down. But as an urban farmer and as an educator, it sped things up in my life because I feel like the community started needing a lot of what I had, which was information and the things I had just in my backyard. You figure stores were closed down. You couldn't get in them, let alone out of them. And so Farmer Girl Ebb took off more and more during the pandemic. I became more and more a Farmer Girl Ebb. And before I knew it, I was selling my things that I grew, like under a pavilion in my community. I had got some permission from a city leader to occupy that space on the weekends, and more people from the community wanted to come out and support, I think, me during that time. And I think that's whenever like Pittsburgh and beyond began to know who Farmer Girl Ebb was, because not only was I selling vegetables and things, nutritional things, I was also and continue to educate. It wasn't always just about buy this off of me. It's more so, what does this all mean? And so it started tying together. And there I met my landlord, my current landlord, where I opened up a fresh food corner store. She was at first a customer, and we became friends. And she was just like, I have the perfect thing for you. As a matter of fact, God told me to do this for you. It was very spiritual for her as well. And so, as unsure as I was at that time, I decided to go for it. And I opened up the fresh food corner store. I had to hire someone right away. So my cousin, Lonika, she left a 19-year position to come and run the store, because realistically, as much as I love it, as great as it is, I am a community person. That's where I started. And that's my heart. That's my passion. I have to be in the community educating. Our organization, Out of the End, since then, has grown so much as well. Because thanks to you, in part, we operate 2 urban farms, and both of those urban farms are geared toward the community being educated on access to fresh food. So that takes up a lot of my time. And I've created other partnerships with different businesses and organizations all through that, which also brought about the freight farm. That is for the community. It was actually donated. It's a multi-partnership with that freight farm. It is a partnership between the National Council for Formerly Incarcerated Women and Girls, as well as West End Power, as well as White Lily Baptist Church, and Out of the End. So all of us together are in on the freight farm. So there's a lot to talk about there, but I just kind of wanted to
the bionic growing
all
system.
of that. Yes.
Yeah.
There's so much.
Freight farm.
There's so much to talk about in that. But I just kind of wanted to point out what has grown in our organization since all of this. And so, Shelly, stop me for a minute because I'll continue to go on and on.
Well, one thing I want you to clarify is, out of the end, where does that name come from?
Thank you for that. So it makes lots of sense to say out of the West End, but no, that's not where it started from. And so out of the end, like I said, this journey has been very spiritual for me, and trying to understand what's happening. I did what I only knew how to do, and that was to consult my higher power in my life, because my life was changing as this was coming about. And I did everything that I knew how to do as I was feeling this. And I'm not talking about a feeling that you can feel. I'm talking about the feeling that was happening in my body as this was coming about. The only thing that I knew how to do was constantly go to God, go to the Bible, try to get some clarity of what was happening to me, because I thought I was going crazy. And I think that people around me was thinking that as well. And so I kept going to the Bible, but I didn't know where to go. And there's a lot about the Bible that I've studied, I know a lot about, I've been in school for, but I just didn't have the direction on where to go. And so all I kept going was to the beginning of the Bible. I kept saying, well, let me just start at the beginning. And when I opened up the Bible,
it's a logical place to start.
Exactly. I said, I had nothing in me telling me where to go. But so I figured, let me just go to the beginning. And when I went to the beginning, I instantly started, I feel like, negotiating with God, I guess, to saying, like, I already know this story. Like, God, I already know this story. I know Genesis, God. I know this story. I know it backward before you took me to Hardy Bible School to learn this. I know this story so much. And, okay, but I'm just going to start there. But I need for you to help me to understand it in a different context, if that's what it is. Because at this point, I am a melanated woman who speaks English. I am not in my correct language. This book is English to me, and I know that there are things missing. And so I need clarity. And this was my plea to God. I'm like, because at this point, I'm about to and I don't want to get lost anymore. And so I opened it up, and it was in the beginning. And I said, God, I already know the story. And I closed the Bible. I said, I already know the story. I'm not about to go into this. And I was just like, all right, opened it back up. And I was like, all right, what do you want me to see? So I'm going to just focus on the word in. And I was just like, all right, what does the word in mean? I did a lot of research on the word in. And that word, I was just on it. I went through all types of...
taking that PhD energy.
That right there.
Yep.
What is the word in? What are you trying to see me? Because this English word needs to... And so the only thing that I could think of was to just... The opposite of in was out. So I wrote it over top in my Bible. And then I looked at the word the, and I did a lot of research on the, and at the end of the day, it's a preposition that supports the first word. There's nothing to change there. So I kept that. And in the beginning, it was, do it exact, did a bunch of research and all that. And to me, it just points to something being missing. Those three words. And it hit me. And it was like, all right, so, end. Out of the end, in the beginning, points to something being missing. Out of the and I couldn't go. I probably could have started rewriting the Bible at that point. I started just at least a little bit. I think I did, to be honest, but I backed off of it. But I stayed with those three, out of the end, right there. And then I remembered also, when I was trying to figure out, God, what's happening with me, I was in my backyard. and the sun was beaming on me. And I thought that something was running through my yard because I felt it. But when I looked closer, something sprouted. That avocado sprouted in my face, and I felt it through my body. I didn't know what to do with that then. But when I began to tie it all together, I felt like out of the end, it came up from out of the end. Out of the end, I was tying so many things together for out of the end to make it make sense. And I was just like, okay. And I didn't know that I was going to name the organization that. I'm just saying that that's where it came from. And I stayed stuck on out of the end. And I just felt like from out of the end is the base, because the Black community, the community I come from, had no base. And that's that financial structure of the community. There's so much to this, and I don't want to get lost in, anything. But the base from out of the end is the base that makes one sound. And I don't know where that came from, but that's what God gave me. And I'm still trying to make sense of it. The only way I've been able to make sense of it is in a business world and as a business model. And that I just will work to create, if that's what God got me here for. I know it's not just me, for me, but I felt like from out of the end, what I want to help create through our programming is right now a bunch of farmers and or business owners, kids, okay, right? And I want them to be able, especially the youth, to be able to dream big. If it's in the agriculture world, or in the financial world, in the healthcare world, whatever, dream big. And let us help you get there, right? But all of us adults that's doing that can create the base while we are educating these youth to become who they need to be, who they want to be. And when they get there, when they have, things in place, to have a financial structure for them to settle on, to be able to grow, is what we have to do. Or they end up like us. Or this is for nothing. Or, this is for nothing, because I am not doing this for me. It's over. It's not for me. I don't know how long God's going to let me live, But if God put me in this position to create this type of organization, then my job as Farmer Grow Ed is to build with other business people, business-minded, that understands community, what's going on and out of the end, to now understand the financial structure that needs to get in place to catch them.
Yep. You've created that net, but also I think it's out of experience, and I've heard you talk a little bit about the barriers that you've had to overcome, and starting all these businesses and doing all these things that would be overwhelming to many, many people. The legal stuff and like the LLCs and the insurance and having to get all of those in a row, all of that stuff worked out. But did you have help with that, or is that something that you just figured out on your own? But it seems like those are the things that you want to make easier for other people.
Right.
So talk a little bit about your
So
process.
I would say that they are things and have been things that I've had to figure out on my own. I think that as I tediously grow through all of these things, all of these businesses and things, I have learned to have a teachable spirit, or I have the mindset of just remain teachable. And when I come to those instances and situations to where I have to level up and get insurances and do the LLC and things like that, I then compartmentalize what I need to do to get there. It's
a lot
hard.
of times,
Yeah.
I would be in a puddle.
Yeah, I was going to say it's hard, and I'm not going to say that there aren't
Yeah.
tears. There's times that I cry. I just said yesterday, there were times I cry every night. Not times, it's not always sad. I'm not always crying because I'm sad and everything is wrong, and no, that's not the case. It's sometimes overwhelming. Sometimes everything is right. Sometimes it's scary for everything to go right. But also when those things come through of approval or yes, or all those the LLs, all the, it lets me know that I'm doing what my spirit, what God is telling me to do. It's like, do it scared. A no from God is a no from God. I understand if things don't go through or if I'm trying to move too fast, because all of those things that I tell you I want, I'm only on the food part of it. There's nothing else in real movement, right there. But there was sometimes I'll want to start jumping on, I need to create a bank. I need to, and it's like, no. Right?
Settle down.
Yes. Yeah. You don't have anything in place that it takes to get there just yet. So focus on where you are, and so I have to train myself to be in that and to not be overwhelmed. I don't know what that strength is. It's just God. A lot of people ask me, I'm like, yeah, I get tired, a lot goes on, but
I get tired just looking at your Facebook posts.
I'm crying. I believe you. Sometimes I get tired looking back at it. But I think the passion that God gave me, it's like I can't expect for anybody to understand it like that. I really can't. It is a lot. But God begins to put the people around me to make it all happen. Sometimes even with Facebook, I always tell people don't get caught up with that. Sometimes if I posted today, it could have happened last week. It's not necessarily something that has happened right now. I take a lot of pictures or have a lot of things, and I may be laying in my bed and have been there for 2 days, but I posted what happened last week and you might have thought it happened today.
That's strategic Facebooking. Yeah.
And I understand that it does confuse a lot lot of people, and so or make people.
You don't have to give up all your secrets.
Yeah, but I understand though, because sometimes people do, they ask or they think that they need to be doing all of what they see me doing in order to maybe succeed, or think that that's what success looks like. It's not that, and I'm very transparent about trying to figure it all out. I'm just a person that don't want to drop the ball nowhere, especially in the community. I think that a lot of if it is, I'm just not going to drop the ball. I'm just not. It's not even that I'm afraid. I'm just not going to drop the ball in the community at all. And that's just what it is. And so I don't expect for nobody to understand where this energy that comes from. Half the time, I don't understand where it comes from. A lot of times, I don't have it. I lay down. I still want a healthy marriage. I still have to be a mom, and all that happens.
You take vacations.
All of that, yes, all of that. And I'm learning to gauge it all, So it's been a whirlwind of 4 years, honestly.
Yeah. Right
now. And I have no plans on slowing down. None. So what's next?
Yeah.
Is that what you're going to ask me? Yeah, what's next?
Well, actually, I wanted to go back a little bit further. Like, so when you're growing up, did you grow stuff? Did your parents grow things at home? Was that any part of your
None of my story? Okay. Yes, no, that is not my story.
Or was there business in your family history in the past?
No, that's not my story. I didn't grow up. Honestly, I grew up with a very poor relationship with food. Very poor relationship with food. I don't remember much access to fresh food at all. When it came down to vegetables, we ate canned food, canned vegetables on special occasions. We didn't go hungry, we weren't hungry, but we just didn't access fresh food. I don't remember seeing anything growing, gardens, nothing like that. That is just not my story. I just, as a mom, like I said, I just started growing stuff. Started with my oldest daughter. Hey, we just grow a plant or something. For a project, I think she grew something for a project one time when she was in like second grade. Little science, she picked something, and we were interested in it, and it was nice to watch it grow, and it was really cool. And we grew tomatoes, and then when the tomatoes came, we gave them away. We didn't eat one of them. She don't eat them, and neither do I. But we liked it, and I always remembered that. And she would always give me like a plant or something. So it was always something cool like that. But then when I had my other two kids, I had moved away from my family, out of the neighborhood that I was from, and I was trying to, I had a backyard. I'm like, oh, what am I going to do with my kids? Oh, let me start a little plant with them. Let me maybe grow a tomato plant. I had some herbs growing back there. And so it kind of started like that. It wasn't, anything that I thought would ever turn into what this is. I had no plans on or no clue that it was going to turn into what it did. And to be honest, once I started putting it out there on social media, I had been doing it for more than almost 2 years at that point, because I wasn't even thinking about putting it on social media or telling the next person or anything like that. I was just being a mom first, a community member that was safe. I had these kids that was coming around that I didn't know, they didn't know me, and I had to be safe for them. See, I grew up in the projects, and we roamed, and that wasn't always safe. You wasn't always going to end up at somebody's house and it was a safe situation, and your mom might not know. And what I learned, even in the community that I live in, that sometimes that's still happening. It doesn't have to happen in the projects. Kids are roaming neighborhoods, and they can be trusting. If they think that, you look trusting, they might come over to you and want to, and I had to, really see that happening. And I was like, oh my goodness. I'm like, these kids, they wouldn't go away. They would be like, can I use your bathroom? I would be like, go home. It's like, I can't let you in my house, but that was happening. And so I was like, what am I going to do? Be mean to them or create a safe space? And I always remembered the people who created safe spaces for me. I was able to go to some people's houses and love it there. And so I just started creating that, I'm like, well, I'm just going to create something for them to love it. And then I started loving it. It was the better side to me of educating.
It was the community part of it and the protective part of it.
All of that, yeah. That it just had to happen.
When did you start eating vegetables? Did you eat what you grew when you had the garden in your backyard?
I did not, believe it or not. I did not. The most that I did was I would make teas out of the herbs. I would make smudges out of the herbs. That kind of started the business of making money. I don't quite know. I feel like I'm still learning to eat vegetables, believe it or not. I really am. I do know that I recognize that I did not recognize vegetables during that time, and still now. And I'm really big on identification, whether I've ever eaten it or not. I was 18 and I realized that I didn't know what Brussels sprouts looked like. I didn't know what asparagus looked like. And I was embarrassed, trying to embarrass somebody else, and I got embarrassed. And I realized that not only had I never eaten those vegetables, I didn't even know what they looked like. And I had a negative connotation on some vegetables. And so for that, I wouldn't even entertain certain things, So
TV wrecked a lot of vegetables.
Yes, Sesame Street. I'm going to put them out there. I would always say that was my thing. I remember just like, I always tell this story. I just remember hearing like, did you eat your Brussels sprouts? And I remember thinking like, I hate Brussels sprouts. I had never even seen them. I just hated them from the way that I remember hearing it on Sesame Street. And so when I was 18, shopping with a friend, and she grew up around fresh food, she's getting asparagus, and I'm over there like, what is that, Brussels sprouts? I went right into Sesame Street mode. And she's like, no, this is asparagus. And those are Brussels sprouts, and they're really good. And so is asparagus. And I'm like, I had no idea what either one of them was, and had never tasted them, and love them to this day. Love them to this day. And so,
is that friend still in your life?
Yeah, absolutely. She's like,
does she make fun of you now all the time?
She's so shocked that my life has turned into what it is. But it's like, it's awesome. And even like beets, like right now, I'm still growing up, Patrice has been able to, we always say she's been able to beat a beet down my throat, can get a beet down my throat, because I also realized that you could juice vegetables. I didn't even know that. I was an adult not even knowing that, or just having access to that. We had Kool-Aid and sugar all our lives. That was like, be happy to have a jug of Kool-Aid in the that was what it was. And I began to raise my kids just like that. And now it's like, we got a jug of fresh juice in there, and we juiced it all, and look at this, like, appreciate it so much more.
And you take beet and carrots, juice them together, and they make this really pretty, bright pink color. It's amazing.
Yes.
And then it's so good for you.
And right, and also learning the nutritional value of it, because it's beyond the palate. The nutritional value of it, because I love to look at a beet. It's pretty, everything it does, but also I didn't like the way it tastes, because I feel like, oh, it's a root crop. It tastes like dirt, and everything. But I've learned to appreciate the nutritional value. I'm anemic, I have anemia, and they're really good for me in that sense. And so now when I'm drinking beets, and I'd rather drink them than eat them. So now when I'm drinking beets, even if for a second I don't like the taste, now my mind is overpowered with the nutritional value of the need, and so being able to communicate that on my own experiences to not only youth, just customers that come in the store, I can get them to now try beets.
Even got the enthusiasm.
Yeah,
for it.
And so and it's real, and it's the truth. Even with kids, I'm like, even if you don't like it, you gotta know you don't like it now. I thought I didn't like Brussels sprouts. I had never tried it, and so now they're like, oh yeah, I do like it. Or they're like, oh, I don't like cucumbers. And I'm like, well, but if you drink it, and they're like, oh, this tastes good. Can we add cucumbers to, so it's all of that.
Great.
Yeah.
So, all right, that leads us to what is next. A question for you, though, about the food part of it, because the business part of it, I know you've got some stuff. Have you done fermentation?
I have not.
Have you not worked with Chef Pete on that?
No. So Chef Pete is amazing. I'm glad you brought him up. So Chef Pete has been instrumental in teaching me more so about fruit preservation, oil curing, and just pickling. So fermentation is next. Those are some of the sessions that we're going to offer going into 2024. And so I am going to be learning under him. And then as I learn, then now offering them to the community so that we all can learn together. So yes.
I would love to participate in those, because I am a huge fermentation fan, and that gets into the funk and controlled decomposition of vegetables, and it's just this whole other world, and you get all kinds of other nutritional elements from it. So I'm so excited for you to learn that. I want to hear all about that.
Yes, so you just excited me even more. So yes, that's exciting. So that's next. Absolutely. Okay. And increased partnerships with all kinds of organizations. We have a partnership with Cafe Momentum, as you said, with Chef Pete, with their educational side, their youth, their participants. They come on to our sites to learn to grow and for their community give back days. So we plan to increase that into a workforce development program. We also plan to move. So Farmer Girl Ab is...
Which is the business.
The yes.
Small store.
I'm jumping back and
gotcha.
forth. Yes.
Sorry, it's the retail store.
So, yes, the retail store. Yes, Farmer Girl Ab. We will be moving, hopefully in 2024. It might be more so 2025, but it could be 2024. We will see. We have located a new building for us to move into. I will be owning this spot. We are in the very early disposition stages of it. But
you're comfortable enough to say it out loud.
I am comfortable enough to say it out loud in front of people, yes. So I'm excited about that because that will allow for us to be like right in the community that I started in and that I live in. And one of our farms is in, and it's like everything's all on one street, and so that's exciting for us, the community. It's going to be a parking lot. We have just so many plans for this space. We actually have a site visit this coming Friday to hopefully get some drawings drawn up over the weekend to go on. So yeah, so that's next for Farmer Girl Ab, the retail part of the business. For Out of the End, lots of big plans there. As you know, or if you don't know, we were just awarded actually 2 amazing grants.
I do know.
Okay.
Our listeners might not know.
Okay, awesome sauce. So one of the grants was actually an Avenues of Hope grant through the URA. And that is a little less than $50,000 that we have been awarded. We didn't receive it yet. We hope to receive it sometime next year. And that is going to allow us to do a lot of things, including some infrastructure for our urban farms. You know, maybe like, I can't even think off the top of my head what that grant exactly for, but it's a lot of infrastructure and signage, like all types of things.
Signage, irrigation system,
all of that. Yes, we are going to really beef up our farms. We're like so excited. And then we were also just awarded about a little over a week ago a USDA grant, another a little less than $50,000 grant. And that is also another infrastructure grant. And so that is going to, really make sure that we have every single solitary thing that we need to make sure that our hoop houses are up and functioning properly. And we plan to put up some more fencing for, we have chickens now. And, so we can increase that.
Escape artist chickens.
Escape artist chickens, you know that. And, just signage, a pergola for outside, classroom teaching, refrigeration for outside, harvesting materials, all types of things in order to safely do programming. So we are super excited about those 2 grants to catapult us to another level, which will help us extend our growth season and start it early. And then it all just kind of connects to even the business side of Farmer Girl Ed, because on the sites, we are teaching youth how to focus on if it's just tomatoes that you want to focus on, then we will teach you how to grow so many different varieties of tomatoes. Or if it's green beans, then let us teach you how to be the green bean king, And so just to help people focus, especially our youth, on one thing, if that's what they want to do, and then learn how to maybe turn that into a business. So we're, hopefully turning into a workforce development agricultural program to help the community even more.
It's really interesting because it's like you're learning it and then immediately turning around and being like, hey, look what I did, and you can do this, and then you're on to the next step. Then you're teaching it immediately, so you're not going through like learning everything and then passing it on. You're passing it on immediately.
And you know what? And I know, and I get a little bit like iffy with it, but it's like that part of it is so important for me because I'm like, listen, I don't need to keep all of this information. And I'm always, I always make it very clear, like, hey, we're learning this together. I make sure the community knows, like, this is how much I know. This is what it is. But come on, let's do this together. There's no reason for me to, get all of this information and then, I don't know.
I feel like when I meet people like that and like you, I feel like it adds so much credibility to your expertise because you're like, I don't know everything, but I know this.
Right.
And I'm still learning this, and I'm going to tell you about it once I know about it. I mean, I just love the way, I love that flow of information, how it just goes through you.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I do question it, a little bit, but again, it's like, I'm just like, well, hey, this is working for me. So, come on in. I don't want to move with a sense of urgency, but there's just a sense of urgency or maybe excitement, all of that wrapped up in just wanting the community to thrive. I really, really want that. I just do. I feel like that's my purpose, and that's that.
We didn't even get to talk about your being an author. Don't laugh. You get one book, maybe 2 books now?
So I'm actually working on the second one right now. Let's just cover that really quickly. I love that part of my life. See, that's why it's important for me to be in the community because like that's the me, like that. I'm an educator, all of those things. And so becoming an author was a dream. And it's amazing to have become an author with the community, with little kids. So the book is called Tomato, How Do You Grow? And I wrote that book with a group of toddlers from a learning center called A Peace of Mind, located right in Wilkinsburg, Pennsylvania. I've been working with those youth since they were just months old, and then turned into a year where they would just play in soil and then learned how to identify different seeds and germinating them and planting them. And to this day, they have 3 different gardens. They're little growers. All of the words in the book is based off of all of their raw reactions to us growing. When they would go on to the spaces, what they would say, and we just wrote a book that explained their interactions with growing. And so it's amazing. It's fun. We're on to a second book. We are aiming to release a series, but each spring to release a new vegetable. I want to become the Dr. Seuss of the agriculture world. It's all about rhyming and colors and, making sense of how to grow with fun. So,
Great. Looking forward to those new books and looking forward to the next adventures of Farmer Girl Lab.
Thanks.
Oh, that could be a book.
I know, right? You never know.
All right, well, I guess we're out of time. Thank you so much. It's always such a joy to talk with you. And I appreciate you being on my podcast.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. And it's always a joy to be with you. I'll always love you. You literally are the best.
Everyone knows that food is cool. No secret. Eat that food with a bowl and spoon.
With Bowl and Spoon is written, produced, and hosted by me, Shelly Danko Day. Copy editing by Carolyn Ristow, details reviewed. Original theme song was written and performed by Paul Labrise and friends. You can listen to With Bowl and Spoon anywhere you get your podcasts. Follow us and send us questions or messages on Facebook and Instagram or on our website, withbowlandspoon.com. Thanks for listening.